Simonetta and I are happy to participate again in this great event, and we are pleased to inform you that we are continuing our project focused on literary Mars exploration. We are working on an almost unknown literary production, approximately 1891 to 1911, which came before science fiction and portrays the Red Planet as a utopian world inhabited by smart people who have been able to build a much better civilization than ourselves and offer to be our guides. It is a world full of flowers, gardens, and cities. Here are some Martian flowers we find in Sara Weiss's novels. Rediscovering these narratives today can be a great stimulus both for readers and researchers, as well as an opportunity for a brainstorming on the extremely modern ideas expressed by their authors about sustainable economy, gender equality, and environmental care. It is our intention to propose and analyze one or two novels every year for some years to come. Last year we spoke about Unveiling a Parallel, which Simonetta translated into Italian and published in 2021. This year we have chosen Journeys to the Planet Mars, a novel by Sara Weiss, who also wrote Decimon Guidas, A Romance of Mars. They were written more or less in the same years when astronomer Percival Lowell was publishing his own essays on planet Mars. That is Mars, 1855, Mars and its Canals, 1906, and Mars as the Body of Life, 1908. Both novels portray the desires and fears of Americans in an age which was still uncertain between religion and science, spiritism and rationality, male patriarchy and female emancipation. We intend to concentrate on the first one, Journeys to the Planet Mars, which describes a series of séances through which the female protagonist, a medium, can travel to the Red Planet, a perfect world where the living and the dead can communicate. Not only that, whoever travels to Mars gets back to Earth, quote, renewed in health, since on the planet, right living engenders health, unquote. Scientists on Mars study biology and chemistry, and even though the journeys are made possible thanks to psychic energy, what is really important here is, quote, scientific inquiry and investigations, unquote. Also, many characters of the book are famous scientists, like Alexander von Humboldt, the person who Edgar Allan Poe's Eureka is dedicated to, Louis Agassiz, a Swiss biologist emigrated to the United States and a member of the staff of the American Journal of Science, Charles Darwin, the author of The Origin of the Species, and Edward Bulwer Lytton, the discussed author of The Coming Race, a controversial book which probably inspired the underground refugees in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. The most striking encounter, however, is with the spirit of Giordano Bruno, the Italian philosopher who was burnt alive in 1600 for espousing the Copernican idea of a heliocentric universe and for believing in an infinite universe with numerous inhabited worlds. It is extraordinary that an American woman writing about planet Mars chose this famous heretical scientist and philosopher with the aim of making him defend the freedom of speech and thought in the United States. Surely, Weiss can give us readers of today many interesting suggestions about the reassessment of human race as interplanetary. Significantly, all of the male characters are dead at the time when the story begins on October 6, 1892. This means that readers are asked to enter a metaphysical dimension that transcends life limits, erasing the boundaries between life and death. Quote, humans are as links of an unbreakable chain, unquote. The action takes place on Mars at the same longitude and latitude than St. Louis, Missouri. On the red planet there is, quote, luxuriant verdure and a wealth of grains and other vegetation, unquote. And everybody believes in universal relationship and universal relationship of substance. We learn that, quote, life germs of fauna and flora ever are the same. The universe is indeed a unit, and in limitless space there are myriads of worlds, unquote. As regards Martians, here called Entoans, they are, quote, more highly civilized than are the peoples of our planet, unquote. They do not fall in the traps of religion and superstition, for example, and they love arts and sciences above all. It is in chapter 5 that we meet Giordano Bruno. As we shall see, his long and passionate monologue focuses on freedom of thought and expression. The figure of the woman is also important because she is a medium in a deep sense. That is, she has the capacity to mediate between different worlds, genders, and opinions. This book, therefore, tries to build a bridge between the United States and a possible Martian culture. We believe that Sara Weiss, in speaking about planet Mars, aims to get the two planets closer to each other in the reader's imagination, and that in doing so she actually mediates between science and politics, language studies and civil rights. As Simonetta is going to show us now, this book's legacy is clear. While we project to terraform Mars and other places outside the Earth, we must never forget about exporting the values of democracy, equality, and multiculturalism. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for hosting again Alessandra and me. I go on with our journey to the planet Mars, and I will talk about the chapter 5, where the writer Sara Weiss describes the encounter among the main characters, the medium and the guide, with Giordano Bruno. The meeting takes place on the planet N2, which is another name for Mars, and whose meaning is chosen or set apart. During this encounter, Giordano Bruno tells the protagonist the history of the planet N2 or Mars from a geological and faunistic point of view, and also it tells the story of his life. As most of you already know, Giordano Bruno was an Italian philosopher, astronomer, mathematician, occultist, and writer. In a word, he was a scientist, but also he was a Dominican friar. He developed the theories of the infinite universe, the multiplicity of worlds, and he was convinced that we humans are not the only intelligent beings in the universe. Anticipating Galileo Galilei, he rejected the geocentric theory, which put the Earth at the center of the universe, for a heliocentric theory, which put the Sun at the center of the universe. He was very convinced of his new ideas and theories that he wished to share his knowledge, and he made it through his works and also by teaching. Actually, he taught at the University of Paris and Oxford, but in the end he had to leave. He was always rejected because his ideas were too advanced for the time. You know that we are in the 16th century. It's the century of the Reformation and Counter-Reformation, the wars of religion, and it was very easy to be considered heretic. That's why Giordano Bruno had to come back to Italy. And he was again considered a heretic, and he was tried by the Roman Inquisition. It was a trial that lasted about 7 years, and in the end, Giordano Bruno was sentenced to death. He was burned alive in Campo dei Fiori, Rome, in 1600. And also his work were condemned at a stake. He never renounced his ideas, differently from Galileo Galilei, because till the end he proclaimed his faith in his new theories, even if this meant losing his life. And when he was sentenced to death, he said, "Perhaps your fear in passing judgment on me is greater than mine in receiving it." He stood for his theories in the name of science, and he spoke up in the name of the scientific facts, even if they were in contrast with the Bible. Here in this chapter, a minor character called the professor says, "In these days, many men and women of learning and research find themselves in a state of unrest and indecision. On one hand, science demonstrates what appears to be facts. On the other hand, these apparent facts are opposed by the declarations of our holy writings." And Giordano Bruno comments, "It is a craven fear of their gods, and the priesthood seals their lips." Well, Giordano Bruno never kept his lips sealed, because for him the freedom of thought and speech was had a pivotal role, and he recognized in the novel that the United States were a nation of tolerance. Turning to the medium, who is American, he says, "Madame, will you bear a message to the people of your native land? Children of Earth's most favored land, children of America, I, Giordano Bruno, once a citizen of sun-kissed Italy, greet you. Rejoice unceasingly that freedom of thought and speech are yours. Guard jealously this priceless blessing, which has become your heritage. Glorious are indeed your United States of America, blessed beyond expression in being as a city of refuge to the oppressed of other nations." He also declared the importance of peace among individuals, peoples, and nations, a fact undeniably relevant in our present days. He states again, "Wars between different nations were continually waged, and of necessity the weaker succumbed to the stronger. Selfish, ambitious, cruel, and successful leaders grew arrogant, and the people were impoverished and enslaved, and such a civilization as existed seemed threatened with extinction." He goes on by saying, "It is a fact that under adverse conditions humanity degenerates more rapidly than under favoring conditions it is capable of progression." And I think we can't but agree with him. Here you can see an engraved marble plaque put in an Italian town in honor of Giordano Bruno. It says, "In this place, formerly seat of the Holy Inquisition, now place of secular studies, to Giordano Bruno, victim of priestly tyranny and martyr of free thought." I close here my brief presentation with an image of Giordano Bruno in the red planet, and with the hope that if one day we will inhabited on Mars, it will be inhabited by people like Giordano Bruno, people open-minded, tolerant, humane, and in 2 words, scientists and humanists. Thank you.